Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia. Here. Director Gibson. Here. Director Kelly. Here. Director Nyman is here. Director Schoenberg. Okay. Discussion, vote, adjust agenda if necessary. I don't think there's anything to change. Is anybody? Okay. Is there any public comments? Okay. Okay. So we're going to go to unfinished business. So this is so basically just to let Dave and everybody, we're going into a closed session. Oral announcement prior to closed session. Government Code 54957. 7A, a representative of the legislative body to orally announce the items to be discussed in closed session.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Do we have to go into the closed session now due to the time we told the attorney, or are we able to wait on that?
Well, I told the attorney it was going to be about 6:10 or 6:15.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just need to tell everybody to return at a certain time, so somebody will have to call them to return to the meeting.
Well, they could stay on. They could stay on the meeting while we.
Well, I think they can. That's correct.
You hang up and then we'll call in that number.
Okay.
We don't have to do anything, right?
You just have to exit out of the Zoom meeting.
Not yet.
Exit on Zoom meeting?
We do have to do something, Becky, Director Gibson. We'll be going to a separate meeting. The number was texted to us. And then we'll be coming back. In the meantime, the regular meeting will continue to run until we come back from closed session. So anyone who's on the regular meeting, Dave Warner, Oscar, whoever, you can kind of, do things, but we'll be going away for a little bit and then coming back.
I just need to know what I need to tell my son to do.
Disconnect from Zoom.
You just exit Zoom, and then you with the number you have that was texted to you, you go back on Zoom and put those numbers in and join the other
I need to
meeting.
close out.
Yeah, but not yet. Let me finish. I've got okay. So we're going into closed session. Conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, Government Code 54956.9, one item. And that's it. So we are going into closed session at 6:08.
Yeah, Dave, I'm sorry.
So we'll be back. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
We'll try to be quick.
Quick question, is that call,
Fucking wrong.
that number is not a Zoom, it's just a call-in number? Hello?
I don't know. Who sent it?
It looks like it's just a call-in number, Johnny sent it. I'm just gonna try calling in.
Hi Stan, hi Oscar,
Hi, Dave.
hey Dave. Who else is on? So
They said there were 11.
so there's 5 board members, the 3 of us, that's 8. So that leaves 3 more. I don't know if that's the office staff. Yeah.
I'm here, Linda Sheldon.
Maybe the public? Linda's here.
It's probably Tiffany from the office.
Okay. Yeah. here to give a report, or are you just eavesdropping?
Oh, I've got a claim that I need to answer to. They also wanted some information about, some other things on the agenda. Oscar's here to talk about some stuff that he's working on too. So,
Well, happy Thursday.
yeah, happy Thursday to you.
I'm confused though, how is the meeting supposed to continue with all the board members gone?
Well, they
Well,
excused them in another
I'm sorry, go
separate
ahead.
meeting room. Yeah, they excused themselves. So, I mean, technically, I mean, I've seen people where they didn't have a board meeting, they just said, hey, we're gonna walk out and go meet in this other adjoining room, closed session. And then they come back and they have to report if anything was decided or not. I don't have to go on the specifics, but, they just have to come back and then they can start the meeting again. But it's closed session under state law, there's certain things that they can close session on. And they have to do it by a certain format. So,
That's
That's
highly
litigation.
regulated.
yeah. Yeah, so. Obviously, if you're in a potential, like, legal action, it can't be an open public meeting.
Well, a lot of times, if they're naming names, you know, like customers or, you know, something else like that, then, it's preferable that it not be public information. And
Yeah.
And again, if it's
Then
a
a lot
law.
more people might eavesdrop or join the meeting.
But, you know, Dave, you know, listening in is the only way you can protect yourself.
we're coming, out of closed session at 6:57. Closed session pursuant Government Code 54957, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, Government Code 54956.9. That one item, there is nothing to report, and we are now back in open session. All right, number 5, discussion vote on Frazier Park Lakeland Woods Consolidation Planning Project. Update on conference call held June 18th, 2020.
Director Schoenberg, you all have the minutes. I'm just gonna say that the minutes look accurate, and we're gonna pass them later, but, so if people wanna look that over, I don't know if you wanna update on anything specifically.
You know, I think
Director Nyman and I did attend, and we covered quite a bit of stuff. And the biggest issue is that we still do not have the property appraisals for the test well sites.
okay, go on. We'll go on to B. This discussion vote update on test wells. Basic. You want to do that, Johnny, since you've got the update from D?
Did Johnny make it back on?
Johnny, you got to unmute yourself.
There we go. So, we haven't heard back from Saya yet. Emily Wainwright, I reached out to her again today, and it turns out she apologized, said that her computer crashed or something, her program crashed. So she just now today got the agreement. Again, the first time it was sent was June 1st. So she got the agreement. She was forwarding it to, I'm assuming, her attorney to look it over and everything. So she's pretty good. The Hickman property, they did respond. They want a 2-year instead of a 5-year clause for us to purchase the property. Both me and myself do not feel like that's an issue. Making it 2 years, if we decided we really wanted it, we would just, speed the process up. And so that's where we stand as far as the test well sites.
And what that means is that on the minutes for the meeting that we had on the phone with the state, Lawrence had wanted sort of a timeline, and that timeline is not going to be accurate. So, as written.
That's right.
Okay, I would entertain a motion from somebody to authorize us to change the license agreement for HICMAC to 2 years.
I guess one of us has to do that.
Well, we can open discussion right now on it. I mean, what do you feel, Director Schoenberg?
I feel that that's probably not a problem, because in 2 years we should know whether we're going to be interested in using that property or not. I hope we go through by then. So I'm going to say that that's probably okay, or we could try to compromise and negotiate for 3 years.
I think they already felt like they were compromising from the 5 to the 2, so we could try it, but.
And because they want to be able to sell that property to someone else, is that what they were saying?
Well, the implication was that the nephew, I believe it's the nephew who's handling the discussions. I believe that is the discussion, but just FYI, that same property has been empty for many, many years, and they've done nothing with it, nor is there a for sale sign on it. So I think it's just a matter of they just don't feel comfortable with such a long commitment. they feel better with the 2-year commitment, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. 2 years is a long time in the scope of things. We definitely could get the test well done if we need to and decide if we want it or not.
Director Garcia here.
Yes, Director Garcia.
I'll make that motion. I'll move that we adjust the timeline with regards to the test well on the Hickman property down to 2 years as they requested.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Director Gibson has seconded it. Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg, Director Nyman's an aye, Director Schoenberg.
No, I'm gonna abstain.
Really?
Okay. All right, motion passed, 4-0-1. Okay, C, discussion vote approve test well plans and specifications.
D stated that, those have been done with the exception of maybe if Lauren Sanchez or the state has some kind of changes. So unless we hear back from them that something needs to be changed, it's all good.
I should get it.
Johnny, did we get a final email sent of that, or a final? I know
Yes.
we looked at it, but I don't know if you made changes since the last time we looked at it.
He made changes, we got a second draft.
Yeah, I believe that everything that you guys wanted done was done, and now it's been in the state for the state to decide if they had any kind of issues with it.
So can we carry that over one more time for after the state looks at it?
Yeah, absolutely. Carry it to the next regular planning meeting.
Yes. Okay, so, I need a motion that we, table this until the next planning meeting.
Yeah, I'll move.
Director Kelly. Huh? Go ahead. I will move that we, table the test wells specification and plan.
Yeah.
Huh?
I
Item C, yeah. We will, I move that we table the vote of the approval of the test well plans and specifications until our next regular planning meeting in July.
No, regular meeting.
The regular planning,
No,
the regular meeting, okay, the regular meeting in July.
Why the regular meeting?
I'm in the regular meeting instead of the planning, because D won't be part of that.
Well,
That's why I was doing the planning meeting.
well, that's a whole nother month you're gonna be waiting. If they approve it, we wanna get the,
Yeah, and I agree, but D's thought was, they haven't come up with any kind of issues as of yet. And they've had it for, I guess, a while.
You could approve it conditional upon you could approve them conditional upon state approval.
Well, no, because I'd like to see if the state puts something else in there before.
Okay, well, let's put it on the next regular meeting then.
I mean,
So the motion stands?
hold on, I don't understand why we can't just put it on the regular planning meeting, because we're not even gonna have anything signed by that time. I mean, we will if we're lucky, so.
okay, do it for the regular planning meeting. It's another month out, and then it's another month.
And it requires a new motion.
I thought you guys already voted and approved the test well plans and specs, dependent upon what the state says, so there's not even a necessity for a vote on it unless something changes.
Did not approve anything.
That's why we submitted it to the state originally.
No, D went ahead and submitted it the same time he gave it to us.
Correct.
simultaneously. And then we found some corrections that he had to do, and that's why we got a second draft.
Well, let's just, if we put it on the next regular meeting, like Brahma said, then, I mean, at the worst, we just table it. And at the best, we'll have more information so you guys can act on it.
That's fine. Are you in agreement with that, Terry, since you're the motion maker?
That's the big path we got, right?
Okay, so we're gonna do the regular, the first meeting.
Yeah, the first meeting of the
Regular meeting.
Okay. So I will, the third time's the charm, right?
Yes.
Okay, Director Kelly, I move that we table the vote and to approve the test well plans and specifications till our first regular meeting in July.
I hear a second.
I will second it.
Director Gibson is seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. Now, when you have Director Schoenberg.
Yeah, I do need to state that there are still a number of typos in this draft that
And
we.
spelling inconsistency, no, capitalization inconsistencies.
It's not just that. There's some really important typos. So I'm just saying it's not just caps. There's a few different things. And so I do think that it's really important that D, we're not just going to be able to approve this. D needs to make some changes to it before we approve it, or we can approve it with the amendments that I mentioned. But at some point, Dean, he had said we were going to do a special meeting, or we were going to get together. Now he's not at this meeting. Now he's not going to be at the next meeting. So I'm a little concerned about.
Well, he hasn't stated he wouldn't be at the next meeting. He's just, he normally is not at the next meeting.
Okay.
He's not there today because he just had carpal tunnel surgery, and he was willing to still call in, but I recommended that he not do that because he just had the surgery a couple hours ago.
Okay, that's fine. I just don't want an approval of it as is because it's got issues. It's got some issues.
That's why we put it off till the next meeting.
Okay.
So he'll just have to call in for the regular meeting.
But what I'm saying is I don't want to just have him come to the next meeting and he still hasn't, he didn't want me to give him any of the changes because supposedly he was going to be at this meeting to get those changes. So I'm just saying at some point he needs to be able to receive those changes. I mean, I'd like to also see what the state has to say, but there are some changes that he needs to go over before we vote on those.
And I do think it's gonna take quite a bit of time.
I will email him as soon as we're done and tell him that. So possibly you can work on it at the beginning of the week and make the changes you wanted, or at least I'll mention that there are changes and he can contact us and you can send over your changes, Lisa.
Yeah, and a lot of them are just dumb changes, but there's a couple that might make a difference.
Okay.
Okay, on to D, discussion vote on addendum to contract with D. Jasper and Associates.
All right, D said that the lady that would do that has got some dire family troubles right now, so she's going to be out for a week or two. He said that if nobody feels comfortable with waiting the week or two, that if we wanted to write up the changes, that he would be happy to sign them in the meantime. Otherwise, we got to wait for a week or two until Kelly gets back.
What changes are you talking about?
Okay, so this was brought up in the meeting with the state, and the issue is that, this whole thing keeps dragging on and on and on, and we're concerned that at the point where we actually are able to get the appraisals, that it's gonna take even longer to get appraisals because we're gonna have to look at the contract with the appraisal company and go over that on a board meeting, and everything's a board meeting. So we were asking that D. Jasper Associates sign with the appraisal company personally, as a company, and then we reimburse them. But in order to do that, we have to make an addendum to the contract with D. Jasper Associates, because nothing in the contract says, and that's not just for the appraisals, it's for the appraisals and the, something else, the title company, so.
Title report.
Yes, so we need to do an addendum for both of those things. I mean, if someone wants to send me the, I don't have it, I don't know where I have it. If, Tiffany, if you wanna send me that contract, I guess I can try to write in an addendum, but, you know, I'm not, you know, I just hate to have to go to our lawyer and pay our lawyer again to amend the contract. So, I don't know.
Well, I'm also gonna send that, email to Dee, so maybe on Monday I'll have more information. Possibly he can, help draft that and then have you approve it, Lisa. But one way or another, I will follow up with him early next week, and then I will call you and we'll discuss that.
Okay.
Okay, on to E. Discussion vote on application for new connection fee and fee review study.
Do you have any information on that, Dave?
Yeah, I think the end of last week, I received an email from the state. They're processing your application for help with the connection fee review, and the fee review study. And they asked if we wanted to do it. I said, well, no, I explained to the person that, RCAC, did the first fee study, and, the district wanted just to have, you know, get an update from them and look and also establish connection, and other fees, and with RCAC. So and I said, we don't have a problem with RCAC doing it. And, so he said he was gonna, refer to, you know, talk to staff and let him know RCAC, to do the work. So, I think I forwarded that to the district, his reply, and, you know, so that's where it's at. It's back at the state, and they need to award it to RCAC, and RCAC needs to reach out to you guys and set up a meeting with them in the state, saying, hey, you know, are you guys, let's talk about this work that you want. So it's in the state/RCAC's court.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay. All right, go on to, update on project participation, Lake of the Woods Mobile Village.
Now, the only update to that is we did get an email with the plumbing plans for the Lake of the Woods, mobile village, but we still have nothing else further than that, so there's nothing really to discuss on it.
Did that go to Lawrence?
Lawrence, I believe, is the one that sent it to us.
Okay, so Jesse or somebody got that. Okay.
Yeah, the state sent it to us, and we, you know, there's nothing that we could do about it unless the state looks at it and decides that they want to enforce it and run whatever necessary plumbing, pay the money to do it.
Okay. G, discussion vote on state intended use plan for incentive projects.
That would be Dave again.
Oh, excuse me.
It's not out yet, is it, Dave?
It's out, it's been passed, and it goes on for the next year till next year when they amend it and change it. So the drinking water one has been, passed, and, got some positive things for consolidation projects. You could potentially get up to $80,000 per capacity. It's really at 60,000. That's the up to that much, and then 80,000 with somebody's approval per connection, for a new connection. And there's no cap limit. They used to have a cap limit of 5,000 per community, or 5
million per community or 20 million per project. There's no cap limit on it. So that's good because as project costs go up, your numbers of people that you're connecting to the system isn't going up. So that's good. The big thing for you folks is they have what they call systems that are consolidating are given an ability to put in an application and call it an incentive project. And those incentive projects, I think are up to like $5 million. There's and other the financing can be grant. There's a whole bunch of different things. So I would recommend that the district may want to consider, if you've got a big waterline project, you could put that in as an incentive project, that they would fund the regional project. They would also fund your incentive project, the project that you guys could choose. So I just want to toss that out there.
I'd like to move.
The caveat is that this is going to all change next year, though. They might redo the guideline. But this is actually a real positive incentive.
Well, can we start moving forward on this day without actually having done all the work for the consolidation?
You can, and I think you guys are doing some of that work. The way they have it written, they would give you the construction funding for the regional project, and you'd have a year to put in an application for your incentive project. I recommended in our comment, and I don't think that was accepted, that districts be allowed to do their incentive project in advance, instead of having to wait for the construction project. But I think it would be wise to try to move forward. The problem is that you folks need to move forward with money, and the state has gone back and forth about whether including that as part of the regional project cost or doing it as a separate project. At this phase, I would almost recommend it just be as a separate project if they don't allow you to include it in the original work plan that self-help could fund. We could fund some of these costs with safer money. So you want to submit a construction application, and you'd want to try to get as much grant money to pay for the upfront costs, which are design and engineer's report and the environmental work. And I think Dee gave a cost of around, it was pretty high, it was $200,000.
That was just, the couple $100,000 was just for the investigative part of it, not the replacement.
Yeah, now he's whittled that down to where he's trying to have his intern as engineering student. They've been looking at our because the biggest cost of that was the locating the pipes and stuff. They've got a locator, and they've been researching it and practicing so we can start locating our lines by ourselves. They've determined that there's a lot of software issues with our locator because it's a few years old now, and we have to send it back to the factory to have it redone, and then they're going to come up here, and then we're going to see how much cheaper we can do it by locating the pipes ourselves.
Okay. And that would just be locating the pipes, and then you'd have to pay an engineer to do like an engineer's report and then and a design for it.
Yeah.
Right, so I'd like to move that we actually fill out whatever application we need, because, yeah, the amount that Dee was talking about is just a preliminary investigation.
Okay. The thing is, the state will say, well, do you want to apply for planning funds to do that? And we've talked about that before, how long it takes to get planning funds, and then you go through a planning, then you go through the planning project, and then you're ready for construction. Well, it's something good to to bring up with the state about how can we make this work? We want this as an incentive project, how can we make it work? Like, could we still incorporate it as part of the existing work plan funds? To be honest, we don't have the sufficient funds right now. We're waiting for our state contract for SAFER money, which is a 2-year contract, and we're gonna get $20 million. And the biggest chunk of that is to pay for contractors to do work, like engineering work and stuff. But it's a question that you have to discuss with the state.
So really, we need to hold off on this till our next phone call with Lawrence, because at our last phone call, the funds hadn't been approved yet.
Right, and, we're a bit frustrated that it hasn't been approved yet, but as you folks know, it took them 2.5 years to approve your planning application for planning funds.
Right.
I hope it doesn't take it that long to approve these funds.
I love your optimism.
Yeah, well, you'll be talking to Oscar, not me.
Okay, moving on to H, discussion vote on 24.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Dave, before we go through with this all the way.
Sure.
I was a little confused. So there's an invoice from Ken Schmidt to D. Jasper, and it's for $620.
Yeah, he deducted that out.
I don't see where it's deducted out, and I don't see why it's deducted out, because that is part of the project. I don't know why that would be deducted out. What I see that got deducted is a second amount for 300 and where did it go? The part that I had a question about is that there's 2 charges for 396, and I'm questioning whether that's a mistake, because that should have been deducted out. One of those 396 charges was for a conference call and not specifically plans and specs. And one of them, so you would bill for 396, but then there's a second billing for 396, and I'm questioning whether that billing should be for 620.22.
No, okay, you gotta look at invoice, Lisa, look at the invoice that in front of that, a letter from Ken Schmidt. Take a look at that invoice.
Okay, yeah, so that was.
Okay, so he took.
But you're not understanding my question. I'm questioning why that was pulled out, because Ken Schmidt does have to do with the test wells, and I'm questioning why there's a second charge for 396, which I cannot figure where that came from.
Okay, did you go to the invoice?
Okay, so on the first invoice, so on the engineering charges, on the first invoice, 20-05011, you're minusing $198, and so there's a revised total. That one you have accurately reflected. Then if you go to the next invoice, there's a charge for 396. You're minusing all of the others as being non-design, and so you're only charging for the 396, which is invoice 20-03014. Then if you go to the next invoice, you're so you're charging the 396 because you're taking out, but it looks like it's the same. Wait a second. Well, it's the same thing, but then you remove the Ken Schmidt, so I'm just asking why the Ken Schmidt is removed? Is that
Okay.
not?
Well, what these bills are a combination of self-help TA costs and also district planning costs. And so what I pulled out were the costs that we hope to get paid for under the self-help work plan costs. So, and what I left in there were costs that I see are directly related to plans and specs for the test wells, which is a planning cost, which is a planning expense. So that's why I have X's through what I consider are the costs that are covered under the self-help work plan technical assistance. And what I've had circled are the ones that are the costs that are going to be part of the district planning fund, engineering funds.
So what you're saying is that the Ken Schmidt you're not including as plans and specs, even though it directly has to do with the well sites.
Right, it's a pre-construction cost. I can put it in there.
No, I just was curious. So, and that's going to be covered under self-help.
Yeah.
So this is, and this is what the issue, I guess, is the fact, okay, we're submitting this. When we get the money, we have to make this, these invoices were submitted to us. We have to specifically account for each amount. Are you listening, Linda? Because if you look, you know, he's taken out 1,300 on this one, so the charge due on that one is $396. So when we get that total $9,000 for D, each one for each invoice has to be listed the way he has it here. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not going to pay, we won't be paying those other ones. Those ones will be paid by self-help, and there's going to be an accounting nightmare
Yeah, I would like to, if we're gonna do it that way, I'd like to see if D. Jasper and Associates could do like an A and a B invoice or something. So like on 20-04013, A would be the amount that we're gonna submit to the state, and then B would be the amount that's gonna be submitted to self-help. So that they can have the same invoice number because they happened at the same time, like that particular month, but they'd be broken down more specifically so that we don't have to try to track it, because I'm concerned that it's gonna be difficult to track. So I mean, I think we could okay the claim and pay it, but I think we need to have DJS Associates amend this slightly to break them into two invoices with the same invoice number, but an A and a B invoice or something, you know, that makes sense like that, or one and a two, or.
That'll make it a lot easier to track it.
I think we'll end up with same waiting period, though, just FYI.
We'd end up with what?
The same waiting period as we got right now, because Kelly's out for a week or two.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the waiting period. I just want them to be amended. I'm okaying the claim because the claim makes sense. What I'm not okay with is having it written the way it is, because I think it's going to get very confusing. Like I kind of felt like we should be paying Ken Schmidt out of this. So if it's much better if it's broken down, you know, so that when we submit it, we're not even submitting so you're saying it's going to take them a while to do that, so we're going to have to wait to submit it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that if it's going to take a week or two till Kelly gets back, unless somebody, maybe Dave, could send the claim back to D with the request of splitting it or changing it the way you want it, and then maybe you'll get somebody else to do it. But I believe Kelly is the one that does all of that stuff.
I reached out to D, and he said that Kelly was unavailable due to something going on, and so he just said they won't be back till next week, I think, and I don't know, maybe later. So I mean, I have submitted claim forms like this marked up so that the state understands what we're being charged for to the state, and I've had them pay it, knock on wood. And so do you folks want to wait on submittal until you get separate invoices for the work?
Well, I think it needs to get submitted. I personally think it needs to get submitted. Because Dee's gonna have to rebill you directly for you to pay him, correct, Dave?
Right, well, and we advised them that we have no money. He's doing this on a bet that we're gonna get our work plan approved, from the state that will cover engineering costs. So, he can submit the bill, but we have a contract with him for a limited amount.
I have some issues with it. I almost feel like we don't submit D's part of it because it's so confusing and we just submit the Frazier part. I mean, you know, because I think it's on their part that they don't have someone who can fix this right now. And I don't wanna see us accidentally paying additional money because, I don't know, it's just too confusing. I mean, it makes sense to me, but I think it's confusing as far as billing the state and you know, tracking everything. So I almost feel like we should just submit the board portion for claim 4 and hold off and submit all of these stuff. I mean, there isn't a time frame on how soon we could submit claim 5 pretty rapidly as soon as this got fixed, right?
It's called a revised claim, which means you have to go about correcting what was submitted earlier. And it's more complicated. And what I've tried to outline here is what exactly you're paying for. And this claim is a reference to that. It's documentation of that. And I agree that so we're supposed to submit the claim every 3 months. That's the schedule you're on. And I could submit a revised claim with the revised, cleaned up documents, which I would assume still come out to the same numbers that I'm listing here, unless you folks have disagreement on, you know, you wanted to include something or take something away.
No, then just submit it. It's just, you know, I'm just not happy with the way that it's. This has happened to us in the past and we mess it up and we overpay and we have to track it and we make mistakes, you know, so. Because you know, whether you pay it or not, we're gonna be getting a bill for the stuff, you know, so
So,
I guess we just need to submit it.
if you could submit it, but then if you could follow up with D to do a cleaned up invoice, because he's gonna have to submit the invoice to you, have an A and a B.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You use the same invoice number.
Right. So could we just go through to make sure that what we have here, what I've marked up as district or self-help costs you're in agreement with that? I don't want, would that be possible?
Yeah, I mean, I looked it over and I was in agreement with everything else except I was confused about the Ken Schmidt monies, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with it. I looked it over.
There is a typo on Johnny's name.
Where?
I think it's on one of the bills for Jasper. I don't know. That's somewhere. Yeah, I think that's Johnny. I don't know. It's Johnny spelled really strangely.
Oh, Johhhny. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have Benny Corona, which is no longer on self-help.
Yeah. So that part's wrong, but.
There is a bill that's April 30th charges, the invoice 20-04014.
Hold on a second, let me find that. That's district charges or the other?
It's an invoice from D. Jasper and Associates.
Okay.
Maybe Stanfield feature.
What's the number?
Invoice 20-04014, dated April 30th. for, sorry.
Okay, that's the very last one, okay. What was the question there?
I took out, when they had review client D. Jasper and Associate contract for accuracy per team. That's not a cost that self-help's gonna pay, and I deemed that it wasn't appropriate for them to charge you for their time to review, their contract.
I agree.
And it's $18, but, and I think we had a comment about that last December also. I just, and then the rest I had just attributed to, plans and specs, because plans and specs are involved printing and mapping and stuff like that, prints.
Right,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I didn't either.
Okay, I would entertain a motion, that we approve, claim 4.
Okay, Director Schoenberg, I'm gonna read it through as we generally do, I think, if I can remember how we do that. So I'm gonna move that we approve claim 4, and then I'm gonna read each of the, internal invoices inside there. So, in regard to the administration and project management charges for the ad hoc meetings and board meetings, that comes to, where is it? A
2,040.
total of, well, there's two separate totals, so $1,799.98 for the board reimbursement for both ad hoc and planning meetings. Additionally, $246 for our FPPUD staff for admin costs for various meetings, March, April, and May. And then the following invoices. So, hold on 1 second. So starting with invoice number 2005011, hopefully to be amended to a part A and B or a number 1 and 2. So that's dated May 31st, 2020. And that invoice, all but the project engineer down at the bottom for $198. And so it's a cost of $8,637.20 minus a non-design cost of $198 for a revised total of $8,439.20. Okay, a second invoice, 2003014. Again, hopefully to be revised into 2 separate invoices, an A and a B or a 1 and a 2, dated March 31st, 2020, for a cost of $1,485 less non-design charges of $1,089 for a revised total of $396. An additional invoice 20-04013, again, hopefully to be amended into 2 invoices. Dated April 30th, 2020, a cost of $1,709.22, less non-design charges of $1,313.22, for a total cost of $396. And then a final invoice of Becky, you may want to mute yourself.
Becky, mute yourself, please, while she's finishing this.
Invoice number 2004014, dated April 30th, 2020, $110.63, less, less the non-design of 18, which actually isn't even a non-design, it's a cost that we don't feel should be paid, period, which would be $18, which is for review of client DJA contract for accuracy per D. And so that final total would come to $92.63. So I move that all of those be included in claim 4 and that claim 4 be submitted.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Director Gibson has seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 5-0-0. Linda, make sure you keep a copy of this claim, the way it's written up, so that when the money comes in, that we make sure that we pay it accordingly and that we don't pay those other charges.
All right, will do.
Okay, thank you.
And none of this has been paid to date, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, on the 6th, discussion vote on well 5 emergency replacement project.
I have one question. I think we skipped it before we move on, which is all the way back when we were talking about where's my, hold on. We never did number 10, which was review and approve state update meeting minutes for 6/18/2020.
Not there yet. We're not there
We're not
yet.
there yet. We're only on 6.
No. Never mind.
Yeah, we're going pretty slow. Okay. Number 6, vote on well 5 emergency replacement project. A, update on USDA grant loan. Dave, you wanna give us the bad news?
Go ahead, Oscar.
So,
it's contentious.
yeah, as you guys know, we submitted the application was submitted. We heard back from Al. Al needed to clarify some figures and financials and other questions that we had. So we, with the ad hoc committee, we cleared that information up and sent it back to him. And today we got an email from Al saying that, let me pull up this email. Basically saying that thanks for the updated clarification. Based on his preliminary investigation, that he would summarize the district's financials are very strong, and it appears that they may be eligible, the district may be eligible for commercial credit. The district needs to apply for long-term financing. If an offer is made, the district will need to take it. In the event the district declines, to please submit a letter from the lender stating for the reason why they're providing that. Secondly, the interim construction financing is required by the USDA when long-term financing is unavailable unless the cost incurred would be unreasonable or cause unaffordability to the rate payers due to a needed rate increase. Based on the financial strength of the district, that would be a difficult case to make.
So basically what you're telling us is that they're not gonna help us, that we're basically screwed. I mean, it's really ridiculous that because we're responsible and we increased our rates and we started putting money away that we were asked to put away, now we're the severely disadvantaged community that are gonna say, no, we're not gonna help you at all, and you're not gonna get any grant money.
Nope. Don't hang in there. In the old applications, they would always have, oh, you need to show that you can't get financing elsewhere. And so people would get letters from banks saying, no, sorry, we're not gonna help you. In this little rabbit hole application that they have us do now online, it's like, they'll ask for information and they'll feed us questions, and then we have to get more information back to them. It'd be nice to sit down and review with him what he means by strong, fiscally. Because, and Drama, you're right. You guys have conducted yourself well, you have money set aside, yada, 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 but you're still a poor community. But I see the letter that request and seeing if you can get financing that's affordable. It's gotta be fun, you have to get the financing, and it has to be affordable from a private financer. And so they give you a list of banks, well, here's the people you can go to. So you could put in, hey, you know, what are our options for financing this of a project through your bank? What are our options? That's what he's asking for, is something like that, but it takes time to fill out an application, so, there may be a faster way to skip that rabbit, I don't know.
I don't know, because they've been yanking our chain as far as I'm concerned for months and months and months now. You know, oh, we have to review this, oh, we have to review that. And we're gonna, you know, we already are going through the summer now with a well that's just basically limping along. So I'm not happy at all. And I'm almost of the mind that we just give up and use our emergency money, and if something happens, we'll figure it out then.
My suggestion on that is CSDA and a bunch of other people do long-term loans. I think that the money that we have in the bank, considering that so many things are failing rapidly nowadays, that it would be better to go ahead and finance the new well and save that money in reserve for emergency things that are happening right now. I mean, we have certain trails that are failing rapidly. We might not be able to wait until pipeline replacement. We have a new booster station and stuff at Wolf Tank that has to be engineered and has to be redone. And I mean, there's just so many things that could go wrong. It's nice to have the money in an emergency, so then when we need it, we don't have to go through this whole process of waiting for a grant.
In order to do that, Johnny, in order to just finance, we're gonna end up having to raise rates, and I'm not okay with that.
Well, are you sure we would have to raise rates, or because I'm thinking, then we got maybe do a 10% increase in 2021, but possibly, because I don't know what that adds to the pot, but maybe we could get a low enough interest loan long term to where that would pay for it. Because if we spend our money when we have a big failure, they go $100,000 or $200,000, we won't have the money in the bank.
Yeah, well then we won't be financially able to do anything about it, will we?
No, but then my thought is that if we say we have the failure, we don't have time to apply for a grant, an emergency grant, to get the money, because we're in a situation where we have to call HBS and some contractor to come in and handle it.
Yeah, I would recommend reaching out and having a conference call with us just to review your application.
That would be great.
I agree. I think it's needed to reach out to Al and have a talk with him.
It'd really be nice if we could actually have a meeting in person, wearing masks, maybe at the office. That would help expedite the financial information and all the things. It's just really difficult trying to do all this stuff via email and phone calls.
I feel like we've been going through this stuff with Mr. Al. Sorry, I'm angry. this started way back when we went to that conference in Visalia or whatever. No, I guess it was in Bakersfield. And, I don't feel like he's anything like any of our other USDA contacts have ever been, and he's really not being very helpful. And this has been going on for a really long time. We need to just move forward.
Well, would you like me to reach out to CSDA and a couple other people and, at least just get some type of an idea of interest rates and payments and length of loan? I mean, it would be worth a phone conference like Dave was suggesting to at least see if there's something else we could do in the meantime.
Director Garcia.
I just said wow under my breath. I'm very disappointed as well.
I mean, there's a number of, it'd be good to review the numbers with him. And you folks have your low-income community, but the numbers they're using is 2010 numbers, and your income has fallen since 2010 as a community, or 2009, and so they're using older numbers, and your rates have gone up, and so your rates are pretty substantial for residential, and I don't see why you couldn't argue that, hey, the poor community, the rates are high, here's the level of the rates, it's a certain percentage. How do you make your judgment that you're in great fiscal shape and that you can afford a 100% loan? So it's something you can request.
Can we request Dave to set up that meeting?
I can reach out to Al, and I can set up that meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, if they may be prohibited from, if somebody looks really great fiscally, that, why, we really can't make them, they need to get commercial funding. But typically, usually the applicants, if they're going for regular USDA funds, would have to show that they couldn't get financing elsewhere. And typically it would be letters from a bank saying, hey, this is our rate, we can make you a loan, but here's the cost. And USDA usually makes a loan at a lower cost or provides grants, or they can argue that, yeah, we might be able to get a loan, but we can't afford it. So that's what I think Al's also asking for, that information so he can look at, if you can't get a loan, then he might be open to being able to do some kind of financing. But on previous USDA projects, we would have to document if they're going for a loan grant combination that they can't get financing elsewhere or it's not at an affordable rate. And then you can continue on with the application.
Well, how do we go about doing that? I mean, who's gonna do that?
Well, you can reach out to a bank and say, hey, I'd like to talk to your loan officer. We'd like to apply for, we have letters that, hey, here's the cost. We'd like to get in touch with you to see what financing would be available under our circumstance. And if that takes a month of Sundays, I don't know. That'd be one thing. That'd be only for 1 month. But if it's a really long process, it depends on the bank.
Well, and see, the problem right now is, with the COVID thing and everything, we're running into July, and we're not even going to be able to drill a new well and get a new well going. We're going to be into the winter time, and who knows if that well's going to continue to last.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been jerked around for I'm pretty pissed off. I mean, we've been jerked around for months. We went to them as an emergency and they told us, no, it's not an emergency because you knew that well was failing. And then they turned around and said, do a grant loan, and they jerked us around for 3 months, and now they're just telling us, the hell with you. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. It's really frustrating. I know it's not you, Dave, and I don't know what, at this point, I'm feeling like we should just complete our stuff, and if we don't have money, then the state has to step in. I mean, I'm really just fed up.
And expressing yourself like that to Al might be a big help. I mean, don't be afraid to share your frustration.
I mean, because I'm concerned about if the well fails. We can get to a point where we don't have enough water for our community because the well fails. And we've been working diligently to try to get this thing going.
Right. And the crazy thing is that the state and USDA would help you out if it fails. If it all goes to hell in a handbasket, and then you have to haul water, which I wouldn't see how to even work. And that's the crazy thing is, you haven't failed, so you're not an emergency. And we made comments to the state that they should also include not wait for an emergency to happen, but they should be able to use emergency funds on an impending emergency. They didn't listen on their intended use plan. I think it's good to have a meeting with them. It can't be face to face. We can do it Zoom, and just share your frustration on such. And he'd be able to. He should be called on to explain where's he coming from. Explain what his analysis. So that's what I would recommend. I don't see this as a turn down. It's just his preliminary analysis.
I think we should express our issues with Lawrence as well, because we're not going to do a consolidation if we don't have a working well. That's our main well that we use, and if that goes out, and and then if we put all our money out into that, and then don't have money for other things, we're gonna have, I don't know, it's very frustrating, so, it affects everything. And I also don't want to wait until it actually fails, because at this point, waiting for another loan and waiting for all this stuff, and we've been waiting, I'm afraid it's gonna fail. And we can't even use Monte Vista as a backup. We had that plan, but that's not realistic.
So, but it's worth a conversation with Al Coryell, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so we can ask Oscar to set that meeting up, and then we'll figure out what to do at that point.
So are we gonna do that as the entire board? What are we gonna do?
Well, we can see. Maybe Oscar can set it up for a board meeting, a regular board meeting. That would be ideal. But if not, then you'd have to create that hoc.
We already have that.
I recommend the ad hoc go ahead and meet with them to discuss what his analysis is, his preliminary investigation. So you could discuss where he drew that conclusion. And then and you might find some good information that, okay, we can still move forward.
It could be something simple.
Try to get it up as soon as possible.
It could be something simple, like he's looking at the other accounts that we have reserved for USDA repayment. And he's looking at the overall financial situation of the district, even though that stuff is already spoken for.
And he may have misinterpreted that, and that's the thing that needs to be clarified. There could be stuff that he may be, saying, or he may be, so that's why it's worth a good conversation with him about that.
Okay, I think Oscar should go ahead and set up a meeting for the ad hoc. And we'll have a meeting with them, Lisa.
I don't know, I'm pretty mad, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to talk.
Well,
Lisa, by the time the meeting comes, I think you'll be all right.
Well,
But
I'm gonna be
sharing frustration.
well, like I said, I'm not gonna be afraid to say what's on my mind, Dan, because, you know, I think this is ridiculous. We've been over backwards to get this stuff done, and I feel like we're not getting any help.
I'm sure that Oscar was very frustrated too, considering all the hassles he went through just to try to file the damn application.
No, I know.
Yeah.
So can we do that? I mean, and then we'll do it before our next regular planning meeting?
Do we arrange it for the morning or afternoon of the 2nd?
2nd of July?
Yeah.
I can reach out to Al. I'll send him an email and I'll follow up with a call, but I'll include all of you in the email thread.
Lisa, are you looking at July? Now look at July.
Yeah, July 2nd is a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. I have nothing on.
In the daytime, I have something in the evening.
Yeah, that's fine. I have no problems in the daytime.
I mean, is that something that the board wants us to do as an ad hoc, or does the board want us to try and do it like a board meeting? If he's able to do that.
I think it's great. If you're willing to do it as an ad hoc and bring the information to us, I would really appreciate it. But if your plate is too full, please let us know.
Yeah, I suggest that you do it as an ad hoc, only because you guys have been discussing and doing this, and you know where things are sitting. I mean, I could jump in, but, I don't know all the ins and outs that you guys know.
Okay. All right, so if you'll take care of that, Oscar, that would be good.
Okay. All right.
All right, B, discussion vote claims and payouts. Is there anything, I don't think there's anything we need to discuss on that.
I don't think anything's happened yet.
Yeah, okay. Number 7, discussion vote on update on meter project. That's you, Oscar.
Still haven't heard back from the state since the application was submitted.
Surprise.
Yeah, I'm sure that the meters is a lower end on their totem pole, but I can continue to try to follow up with Zach, see if there's anything there.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah,
Just
go
a
ahead.
side comment on that. And I'll just discuss that in the future project funding for infrastructure. Number 9, later on.
Okay. All right, number 8, discussion vote on pipeline replacement project. A, discussion vote on potholing and mapping. We're kind of at a standstill right now, I think.
Only to an extent, because like I was saying earlier, the intern has done a lot of research and practicing with our locator. We are getting a price for having it, being repaired at the factory. And once it gets repaired, we're hoping that with the intern and me, and well, now since the crew's so short of me, we can figure out how to do a lot of the mapping with our own locators to cut way back on cost.
Okay.
Quick question, have you gotten a price yet, or you haven't gotten a price yet?
We have not gotten a price.
Okay.
One way or another, if it's less than buying a brand new one, and we gotta proceed with it, because it's basically way out of calibration right now. But Dee and the intern are following up on that with the factory to try to figure out what it's gonna cost.
Jonathan, that they did come up and spend a couple of days up here?
No, he's had our locator down there, and they've been researching it and working on known pipes that they have down there. And we didn't know why Sean was having such a difficult time. He's the one that was trained for it, so we didn't know why he was having such a difficult time. So it took a college student to figure out that it was out of calibration, and that was a huge part of the problem.
Okay.
None of us are trained pipe locators. We all learn from as we go.
On the job experience.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, on to 9, discussion vote on future project funding for infrastructure.
That you, Dave?
Yeah, just a heads up, obviously we have high unemployment, and the feds are considering an infrastructure bill. And so what happened last recession was they came out with funding, the feds came out with funding that it passed on to the state to fund projects that already were ready to go to construction. In other words, they had plans and specs done. So the one project you have, that's the 2 projects that you have that are ready to go to construction, your well and your meter replacement project. I hope your well is funded under USDA, but if your meter replacement project is dragging on, that maybe could get funding through the infrastructure program. And it was a grant for disadvantaged communities. So I worked with one that Arvin got funds to, the Arvin CSD got money from the economic revitalization to connect. We got that money to connect with Edmondson Acres. So just as a heads up, keep your eyes and ears open. We are, if this gets passed, we don't know if it'll get passed, but it could get passed. That money's going to come down the pipeline, and they're going to look for projects that are ready to go. So you've got a couple that are ready to go. So there is that funding out there.
Okay, great.
The other funding is Irwin funding, and I think we helped you put an application for Irwin funding in with Kern County, but we're always keeping our ear to the ground. You put an application, you put a project in that into the mix. So that's something to have projects listed, although it's also good to keep pursuing other funding. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Okay, number 10, review and approve state update meeting minutes.
Okay, I'd like to move, I reviewed them, and unless Director Diamond has any issues, I'd like to move that we approve the state update meeting minutes for Thursday, June 18th, 2020 at 10 a.m. I didn't even see any amendments.
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia seconded, roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg? Well, Director Schoenberg?
Well, said aye.
Okay, motion carried 5-0-0. Okay, we're gonna skip the recess, I think, and get on to, accounts payable.
I have a question for Linda.
Yes?
I had some issues with the, our JPIA, our insurance, where we got a bill and it's payable for July, and it's saying that we have 6 employees that we're covering. So I had some issues with that. It's way too expensive because we don't currently have 6 employees for July.
Okay. We talked to them today. What happened is because it all has to do with timing, they said all the credits are gonna show up on the August invoice. And so they will subtract at that point for Arthur for June and July, and then he will not show any charges for August. And for Cassandra, July will be subtracted out, plus she will not be showing on the August one. So it all has to do with timing. And
do they not prorate because she left in?
No, they cover them to every employee, and this is how it has always been. Every employee is covered through the end of the month. Now, then there's another step that, and I don't know who handles that because I don't do that, is and they, there's the process for COBRA and things like that. I mean, who's ever the insurance people, maybe, I know Johnny works with them on that. So there's all those issues with COBRA, and if they choose to go COBRA, then they could possibly still be on there later and they pay the company back. Most employees do not take COBRA, and we've never had where an employee has taken COBRA, but that's part of the timing as well.
The same thing has happened in the past when other employees left, where they had to correct it on the following month. Tiffany sent the information to JPIA, and she's been doing the COBRA letters and all that stuff. So it's just a matter of just playing it out for 1 month until they correct themselves again.
They don't like you to make the adjustments prior because it makes it more confusing. They do it all at one time, and so it will all show up for our conversation with them today. All the credits will show up on the August invoice.
Okay.
Okay, I do have one additional question in regard to that, and if someone is out for an entire month on workers' comp, not that that's happened yet, but if someone is out, are we paying for them while they're out, or they're being paid with work comp?
Yeah, I believe that we still have to pay for the medical because it's still part. Workers' comp only pays for their injury, but they're still our employees, so we still have to keep them on insurance.
That is correct.
Okay, so other than that, I reviewed and Lisa reviewed the other things.
I had one more statement to make.
Okay, sure.
The total of all the bills was $13,246.37, which did include $11,048 was the health insurance that we just discussed.
Right.
Also, the balance after today, through today, including all deposits through today, is $286,916.84. So I was recommending that we transfer $50,000 to the emergency reserve fund. And then we know that we have, a few more months to collect for the next loan payment, and we might want to start putting money aside into the loan payment, especially in light of the conversation we've had tonight. It's showing that money is going aside and being targeted just for that, so it doesn't look like we're cash flush.
You mean into the payment account?
Correct.
So what?
50,000 into the emergency fund, and then put 100,000, we could even do 150,000 into the USDA payment fund, then we know that money's in there, we're ready.
That's for October coming up.
Correct.
Okay. Are you okay with?
What is the actual total that you think that we'll owe?
It's gonna be approximately 100, I didn't look at that specifically, but if I'm recalling my memory correctly, it's about approximately 140,000 principal and interest payments.
Okay. Is the board okay with me putting in 150,000 and, I mean, they won't remove more than what we owe them, and then I can return whatever money we don't need back to, it'll just sit there until we pay our interest and our principal. And
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
at such time, then I can transfer back into the revenue fund.
You know, Oscar, you can go ahead and, I don't think there's anything else that you're needed for. Let's see.
Yeah, David, I'm good.
Discussion, Dave and Oscar, if you'd like to exit, I mean, you can stay if you like, but I think we're done with everything that we have to do with self-help enterprises.
Okay.
I just don't want you keeping on, and you don't really need to be here.
All right. Well, like I said, I'll follow up with Al, and then I'll include you guys in the email, and then follow up with him with a call.
Okay. Thank you, Oscar.
Quick question for Dave, are you gonna be part of that as well, or just Oscar?
I believe Dave's gone already.
Dave's already gone.
Okay, Oscar, can you ask Dave if he's willing to be a part of that?
I'm pretty sure he will, but I'll connect with him.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So, I'm okay with you making that transfer. What do you think, Director Garcia?
I'm on board with that. I don't think there's any problem.
Director Gibson?
No problem.
Director Kelly?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'll be transferring two amounts, and then I'll be emailing both Linda and Tiffany with the receipt for those. But in the next couple of days, I'll be transferring both 150,000 into our USDA payment fund, and then I'll transfer 50,000 into our emergency fund.
Okay, great. Okay, I will entertain a motion to pay our bills.
I'll move that we pay our bills.
Do I hear?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Kelly has seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson. Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried 5-0. Okay. All right. On the 12, discussion vote on appointing ad hoc committee to review the proposed budget.
And I don't have that proposed budget to you guys probably Monday or Tuesday.
See, Director Schoenberg, are you going to be on that ad hoc committee?
Probably, since I'm the treasurer.
Okay. Does anybody else want to be on that? I mean,
Hey Lisa, will you walk me through it?
I can.
Johnny's usually there too, right?
I'm always there, yeah.
he's always there. Okay, so I would entertain a motion that we create an ad hoc hoc committee with Director Gibson and Director Schoenberg.
I'll move that we create an ad hoc for the budget review, with, Director Gibson and Director Schoenberg as participants.
I'll second that.
All right, Director Garcia has seconded. Roll call our directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Abstain?
Okay. Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Diamond's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Same.
Okay, 5-0-2, 2 abstentions. 3-0-2, 2 abstentions. Motion carried. Okay, on to new business. Manager's report.
All right. This month we had to estimate our meter reads. We've had 3 leaks in 3 days. We have 1 guy to read meters, so obviously we had to estimate, so we're going to be doing a lot of rereads and catch up. We've gotten 0 applicants for the newspaper ad. I added an ad on Indeed.com. I've gotten a lot of hits from that, but no viable ones. They're all either requesting too much money or they live too far away. There's the only certified water operator that applied lives all the way in Ventura, which is way too far to be driving. Another guy lives in Fresno, so that's obviously not going to work. So in the meantime, I've been working in the office and working with Logan in the field on the leaks and stuff. So Logan's going to go away, I think, on the 9th for like 7 days. He's not even going to be in town. I'm hoping that Sean is cleared to come back to work. If he's not, I reached out to local water companies. Austin, Milky from Lake of the Woods was gracious enough to stay at least a few of the days if I really need him, he'll chip in. I told him that obviously we pay him his normal hourly wage, either time and a half or whatever the overtime rate was. So that'll help, because if I get a leak and I'm the only one in the field, the only one by myself, it's just not going to happen. I mean, I could dig a hole, but I can't fill it back up without somebody to babysit the hole and to operate other equipment. So that's where we stand on that. I believe I have to check today, all the fencing at the 3 sites is done. Today they were trying to get the last of the gates hung. So that's a good thing. And then also the elections, I don't understand fully, but the people coming up for re-election, today, Terry signed the form that had to go back, and then the 2 directors that are up for re-election need to fill out their paperwork and run for election again. Please, both of you, run for re-election. And other than that, I'm good. That's my report.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, Director Schoenberg.
Will it say a state on the bills? I hope that the bills are estimated.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, that's the goal. In the process of doing that, we lost our billing clerk, so now our new one is really on the ball, so we're going to see what the bills look like when they're printed, and hopefully it specifies that. It definitely specifies it on the audit. I seen that today for sure, so hopefully it's going to specify it on the bills itself.
Okay.
I can speak to that. If you can hear me.
Who was that? Tiffany?
Yeah, so I showed the front desk how to do the billing today, how to do the estimates. And while we were doing that, the computer did ask us if we wanted to add estimate into the bill notes, and we said yes. So hopefully that means it will be included on there.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tiffany. Okay, 13, manager, oh, we already did that. 14, I'm getting loopy now. Discussion vote on quote to enclose the front office.
Okay, 3 of you board members already know, but basically, before COVID hit, we wanted to enclose the front counter to separate angry customers from our front desk. Now it's also got a further effect of when and if we ever do open up to walk-in customers again, we need the spit guard, the shield to prevent the spread of COVID. The original quote I got was $10,000. So Mike from Don's Liquor talked to his buddy that does all his stores and stuff, and that guy quoted $3,000 to enclose the front counter, the side counter, and as most of you know, there's like just a little swing gate that swings into the inner office. We're going to remove that. If we buy the door ourselves, they'll install it for free. So there'll be a total separation from the public and germs and all that stuff. So,
And how thick is that plexiglass gonna be?
well, it's not that thick. It's not going to be a deterrent from somebody bashing their way through.
Okay,
But it's also cheaper in the long run, like Mike pointed out, to where eventually plexiglass gets scratched. You would pull off the molding and you would just cut yourself some new plexiglass and slide it back in there. So it will be cheaper on replacement. And if somebody really wants to get in short of bulletproof glass, they're going to come through anyway. So
yeah, no, of course, not, I just was asking.
yeah.
Grand, I don't think we're getting Mike Steele.
What's that, Director Gibson?
I said $3,000, I don't think we're getting Mike Steele.
Well,
I don't think we're getting the complete deal.
because the first one was $10,000, I was pretty happy about the 3. The $10,000.
Tony,
What?
you said that this guy's from Santa Clarita?
Well, he's from the valley somewhere. He does all the work for stores all over the place. I mean, I believe he's the cabinet guy, which is typically who does that type of work. And he's going to come up, if it's approved, he'll come up and take the final measurements. Mike Toledo came in and took the initial measurements and the design, and now it's up to you guys if you want to approve it.
Yeah, I was just wondering why we didn't get quotes from somebody up here.
I did. The first quote for $10,000, I forget the guy's name, but he's from Lebec.
Was that Frank guy? Frank Lombardo or whatever?
He gave me, yeah, I believe that's him. He came back in at $10,000.
Wow.
I believe the name was Frank London. He's a contractor.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's very expensive.
Yeah, well, I asked other people to bid up here, and none of them did. Gordon Construction said they were too busy. I reached out to Bob Stoll, never got a response. And I reached out to another guy too up here, and none of them responded except for the one guy. And the only difference between the quotes was the one guy had glass, and this guy is doing it with plexiglass.
Well, I think that's better than glass.
Director Garcia, you had something?
I'd like there's an extra legal clause with the glass has to be, if you go with glass, it has to be rated for a lot of things to make sure that if it were to fail and collapse or something, don't make.
Well, it would have to be tempered, so.
Yeah.
Director Garcia.
Yes, I'd like to move that we authorize the bid of $3,000 for the enclosure of the office for the safety and welfare of our employees especially, but in the event we should open up, it would just be secure, more secure, and better all the way around.
Do I hear a second?
I guess I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman. Aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 5-0-0. Okay, 15, discussion vote on engineering wolf booster.
Okay, with the Wolf Booster, it's like one of our other sites. It's always been a very problematic, expensive ordeal because the clay valves that prevent water from coming back down from the D-tank, they flood. And every time they flood, when there's a line break, it ruins the electronics and it costs a bunch of money. But now we're at a place where we've been needing to rebuild the booster house itself. Well, the booster house has fallen down. We had the recent failure that's cost us 2 claims for running down the hill. And when I was looking inside the clay valve boxes, I realized that all the piping up there is so rusty that it's falling apart. It literally flakes off in 1/8-inch sheets of rust. And unless we have this engineered right away and have a construction company come in and change that and fix it correctly, I'm afraid that we're certain to have another claim of the water rushing down the hill. Jerry might relate to add to that. I took him up there to kind of show him since he knows so much about construction.
Director Garcia,
You're muted, bud.
you're muted.
Thanks.
I'd like to concur with Johnny. I was up to see the work on the chain link fence. One day he needed a signature, and I said, well, what's going on up there? He said, well, hey, they're working on it now. You want to take a look at it? So I hadn't been up to the tanks in a while, so I rode up there with him. And what he's talking about is they're saying, I mean, if you get all picture of the pumps that we had in the ground down at well 5 when we rebuilt that pump house. Same situation, only there's just one there, I believe. And it's underground, 3 feet underground. And it's just illogical the way they built it, knowing what we know now. And if we were to do this work, I think we'd be saving ourselves some potential claims further down the road, because he showed me where the repair work and where the claims took place the last 2 winters, and it's just going to happen again. And what would happen is it will allow us to regrade it to send any overflow water down the road that comes up the access road we have, and it would avoid any private property that's in the area.
Okay, what, do we have a cost on that, Johnny?
No, I mean, you guys have to approve that I even reach out to Dee to come up and look at it and give I would imagine that he would give an estimate on doing I guess it would be like a PER.
Director Kelly? Director Kelly, we can't hear you.
Oh, that was the end, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you had a comment.
What I'm asking for is you guys to approve me to reach out to the engineer. Then he'll come up and look at it, give me a rough estimate. I'll put that on the next agenda, next regular agenda. Then you guys could decide if you want to approve that, and then I would imagine, have to go out to bid, which you guys obviously would be part of each and every step of that.
It's gonna be pretty pricey, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be pricey. I couldn't hazard much of a guess other than it's going to be a bunch. But we can't do anything about it. Literally, the enclosure has been falling off the foundation. The foundation is broken off. The piping has been failing. We really can't put it off, and we don't have anybody that's, even if we just had it engineered and we didn't have a construction company do it, we don't have the crew that has the knowledge or the capability to do this. Even if Billy was here, I wouldn't want him to try to tackle it, because it's bringing underground piping up above the ground and enclosing it in a structure.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could get, what's the company that did the other one?
Oh, that was HPS, yeah, but I think over a certain dollar amount, it's gonna have to go out to bid. I would certainly like HPS, but just as a side note, I think only one person from HPS in the office is still there that was here at the time. Phil and the superintendent that worked on the job, I forget it, Dave, I think, they're gone. They're not there anymore. And they're the ones that made the company still graded for our last project.
Right.
Well, luckily, just so you know, this booster house, instead of it being as big as the one in Well Filed, which is huge, and that has 4 boosters. This one's got 2 boosters and 3, and it's going to be about a, I don't know, 10 by 15 building maybe. It's a lot smaller than the last one we had.
Well, we've already designed one, so I think, you know, that could be helpful because Dee has all the design plans for the other one. So even though it's, you know, it's smaller, but that may be helpful. He's already done quite a bit of design of doing a very similar project. So I'd like to move that we give a go-ahead for Dee to take a look, give us a quote on what it'll take to go out to bid on that, and most likely use the pipeline reserve fund for that.
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson. Director Gibson.
Aye.
Okay, Director Kelly.
Aye.
All right, Director Nivens and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye. And also there may be some funding. I mean,
Okay,
that's something-
wait. Motion carried 5-0-0.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Director
I was
Schoenberg.
just gonna say we also should ask Dave because there may be some funding, self-help may have some sort of funding for that as well, but if not, then I think that could be covered by the pipeline, the monies that are in the pipeline fund.
Okay, I like the idea of asking him, but we definitely need to move swiftly because we're going to wind up in the same boat as anything else with winter coming, and I don't think it's going to survive winter.
Okay. All right. Okay, 16. Discussion going on retaining, hiring PAS Associates Human Resource Consultant. Quote for ongoing support services. Okay.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I have one issue that came up when I was reading their contracts. Well, actually 2 issues. So one of the issues was that under the, you know, when she had, and I asked Tiffany, and I don't know what the results of her looking that up, but maybe she can tell us, but I was concerned because in the contract itself, when she came and talked to us, she said that the price that she was quoting us included a basic template plus some customization for what we specifically need within the company. And in their paperwork, it says only the basic template for that price. So I'm a little concerned about that. That's question number 1. And then the other question, actually there's 3 questions. Then there was also a question about whether we're going to be paying money each time they come up to talk to us about the either the handbook or whatever. That I believe that we would be having to pay transportation costs and some other potential costs because those are not included in their contract because we're considered outside of the Bakersfield area, I believe. Will you check that with them?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, and my thing with that was, we could actually take if it costs too much to bring them up here, we could just take our people down there. There's only bakers.
Oh yeah, it's $100 an hour just to drive up here.
It would only be the two trips for the employee handbook. One to come up and talk to the board and me, and then one to come up and talk to the employees when the employee handbook was done.
Right, and then the third question I had is that I don't recall the price that they gave us in the contract appeared to me to be more expensive than the original quote that she gave us for the hotline. So
well, no, that's she says you pay quarterly.
That's because it's 6 months.
No, it's quarterly. It's 3 months. It was 120. It was 125 a month, and so you're paying it quarterly for 3 months.
And the good thing, one of the good things is I'm looking at the price right here, and it's $2,050. I believe it's a year, and just the unlimited emails and phone calls for learning how to write different things, HR related things, we would save that money easily on attorney fees.
Yeah, that's not, I'm not questioning that particular charge. That charge seemed to be pretty much what she told us, and that seemed to be appropriate. And they are still recommending that we need to have the attorney look at whatever they provide to us. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
particularly if it's just a template, I have some concerns if the handbook is just a template. So, because I think we're still gonna end up paying the attorneys to look at quite a bit of stuff. So I definitely, the first quote for, having Johnny, the board, whatever, be able to call in to ask, HR questions, that seemed, pretty much like what she expressed in her meeting with us. The second two, I had some questions about.
Well, the other thing that I think that needs to be changed, that we need to go back to her, because it says, client shall note that all billings with an outstanding balance are due and payable upon receipt. I mean, we have to have at least 30 days because we have to be able to approve it in a board meeting, you know.
Correct.
Okay, well, hey, how about if we try to get another phone meeting with the full board at the next regular meeting to clarify these, because even if they make some changes, you guys are still going to want to see them. So we should just try to set up another Zoom meeting with her for the next regular meeting.
I'm good with that. I did want to ask Tiffany if my questions were, you know, what Tiffany had looked up, I think what was said to us in the last Zoom meeting, and I'm just curious if if she was able to discern whether the questions I had were correct or not. Because I'm pretty sure she said not just a template on the contract. I'm pretty sure she said a template and limited customization.
Being on the employee handbook?
Well, I know she had said that on the employee handbook, because I had specifically said to her, we would provide her with what our current one was, and she said they would modify it.
Yeah, she specifically said that she would come up and we would go over our handbook with her and the board, and we would make our suggestions, they would make their suggestions on what needed to be in it and what if our suggestions were good or not, and then they would implement them, and then they would come back up and they would explain the handbook to everybody. So that explicitly said that it wasn't a template, that was an actual doing the employee handbook.
Okay, well, that's not what's in the contract, so.
Yeah, then if that was the case, we would just have probably Jerry Pearson and Neil Myers go back over it.
So yeah, so I think it warrants, I don't think we're ready to pass it yet. I think it warrants a second phone call because it definitely, at least that section of the contract, I would have issues with.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So I made a note to set up another conference call.
Okay,
the other possibility would be to pass just the very first part, the first section of the contract, which is to, which would allow Johnny to start calling them with employee, with questions that he has. So that's the other possibility. That one I didn't really have any real questions with. It was the second two.
I like that idea.
The only
Yeah,
thing,
because he said we could do it in portion, so,
yeah, the only thing I would say on that is that one issue of being payable upon receipt. I mean, that's good. I mean.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Most invoices say that, or a lot of them do, but I mean, I don't think 2 weeks so a board meeting is outlandish as far as that goes.
Yeah, but we don't know what their late charges or whatever are, so we would have to have that specified in the contract.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to keep paying your credit card.
Yeah. So I guess we should wait because we really need all that specified as well.
Okay. So So I entertain a motion that we table this until the next regular meeting.
So I'll move that we, carry this over, I don't have the item in front of me because I went outside because it's too hot in my house, so, what's the item number?
16, A, B, and C.
Okay, so, 16 A, B, and C, I move that we carry those over to our next regular meeting and invite, the representative from PASS again so that we can, negotiate whatever other changes we need to the contract and then go ahead and approve the contract.
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia, second that. Roll call directors, Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 5-0-0. Okay, on to number 17. Any discussion on future agenda items?
Well, our next regular meeting is going to be big if we're doing the contract and the contract with PAS.
Yes.
And also the budget.
Oh, yeah, and the budget. I mean, where are you, Tammy's?
Most likely, we need to have a special meeting for the budget because we usually have to go over the whole thing. I mean, I'm not sure, but, and I have a feeling we may need a special meeting for a couple other things, so, I mean, I guess, you know, we can put it on the next regular meeting, but we may not have the ability to go over it and completely past it.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
Frazier Kelly.
okay, motion, roll call directors, Director Garcia.
Aye.
Okay, Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, 5-0-0, meeting adjourned at 8:49. And, I'll be up in a minute, after, to get the signature, Lisa, for the
The big check, yes.
big check, the big check. Okay?
Okay.